You know, when you hear the word alchemist, you probably picture some guy in a dusty lab obsessively trying to turn lead into gold. But what if I told you the real quest, the deep quest, was never about wealth? It was about something way more profound, way more rebellious. It was a war declared by a handful of brilliant minds against our oldest and most undefeated enemy, time itself.
Okay, so let's get right into it. At the heart of this whole rebellion is this incredible figure from the Renaissance, a controversial and absolutely brilliant alchemist named Paracelsus. Now, he's living in this age where everything is being questioned, and he looks at the world, he looks at sickness, at aging, at death, and he just refuses to accept it. To him, death wasn't natural, it was a flaw in the system, a biological problem that, with the right knowledge, could actually be solved.
And that right there, that one idea just flips the whole script on alchemy. This journey wasn't about getting rich, it was a crusade. Paracelsus truly believed that we were meant for more than just withering away, and that the answers, the weapons for this war, were hidden all around us, in the very elements of the earth, just waiting for someone smart enough to unlock them.
To really get inside the head of someone like Paracelsus, to feel that burning obsession, we've got to step out of the laboratory for a minute and into a garden. There's this short, amazing story from the old alchemical texts that just perfectly captures the why behind this whole epic quest. So, picture this. A gardener grows a rose so perfect, so vibrant, that the very thought of it ever fading feels like a cosmic injustice. This isn't just a flower to him. It's perfection made real. It's a fleeting moment of beauty that he knows time is just itching to destroy.
So what does he do? He basically becomes an alchemist. He starts working tirelessly night after night, trying to capture its very essence, what he called its spirit. He believed that if he could just distill its pure life force into a liquid, he could create an eternal bloom, a rose that would simply refuse to decay.
And here it is, the connection that makes it all click. That obsessed gardener is Paracelsus. And the beautiful decaying rose, well, that's us. That's the human body. And that elusive, eternal liquid he's searching for, that's the real Philosopher's Stone. Not something to make you rich, but a substance to stop the inevitable rot of time. Now, if you're going to declare war on death itself, you're going to need some pretty serious weapons. And Paracelsus wasn't just winging it. He had a detailed conceptual arsenal designed to dismantle mortality piece by piece. So let's take a look at the tools he thought would win this fight. First up is the Alchemist. And this concept is just wild. Imagine a liquid so powerful it could dissolve absolutely anything. Not to destroy it, but to break it down to its most basic, pure, and original state. For Paracelsus, this was the master key, the mercury of the philosophers that could unlock and literally reset the physical world.
So how would you even use this on a person? Well, he had a three-step process called spagyrics. Think of it as alchemy for medicine. First, you'd use the alkahest to chemically dissolve the old, sick body back to its essential nature. Second, you'd purify that essence, stripping away what he called the rust of disease and aging. And finally, you'd recombine that pure life force into a perfectly restored, brand new, healthy body. It was nothing less than a biological reset button. The second weapon in his arsenal was even more poetic. It was called aurum potabile, which means drinkable gold. See, Paracelsus looked at gold as more than just metal. He saw it as condensed sunlight, the most perfect, incorruptible substance on Earth. And he figured, if you could somehow make it drinkable, you could literally swallow its perfection. And this is where the science and the mysticism just beautifully merge. The theory was, by drinking this liquid sunlight, your own body would start to resonate with the sun's indestructible energy. You would literally start to vibrate at a higher frequency, a frequency that decay and death, with their low, slow vibration, simply couldn't touch. You'd become as timeless as gold itself. But, waging a one-man war against the fundamental laws of nature, that comes at a steep price. This wasn't just a battle fought with beakers and burners in a lab. It was fought inside the alchemist's own soul, and it was a profoundly heavy and lonely burden to carry. I mean, just think about it. If you genuinely believe you hold the secret to ending death, how can you ever settle down? How can you live a normal life in a world where everything and everyone you see is just temporary? This belief made him an outsider, a wanderer, forever in a state of lonely rebellion against a reality that everyone else just accepted. But what's so important to get is that this wasn't just for him. His writings show this deep,
radical empathy. He saw suffering and death as a kind of cosmic oppression, what he called the tyranny of the grave. And he passionately believed that human beings, as creations of God, deserved better than to just be erased.
So his lab, it became more than a workshop. It became his fortress, the command center for his very private, all-consuming war. Everything else in his life just faded into the background. And this incredible focus, this relentless drive, it leads us straight to the most powerful and tragic irony of his entire story.
48. That's it. That's the number. The man who dedicated his entire life to finding the secret of immortality died at 48 years old.
The irony is just staggering. And of course, his followers couldn't just accept it. They couldn't believe his great quest had failed so completely. So legends started popping up almost immediately that he was murdered by jealous rivals who wanted his secrets. Or even more out there, that he didn't really die, but used his own elixirs to put himself into a kind of suspended animation, just waiting for the right time to return.
So you have to ask, was it all for nothing? He never found the stone. He never created the elixir. He died young. By his own standards, his quest was a total failure. But this is where the story takes its most important and, honestly, most beautiful turn. His failure to achieve his mystical goal led to a monumental and completely unintended success for all of us.
Just look at this. On the left, you've got his intended goals, physical immortality, a magical stone, totally mystical, and, as far as we know, unreachable. But on the right, that's his actual legacy. And you could argue it's even more powerful. His relentless, documented, systematic experiments, they laid the groundwork for modern medicine and industrial chemistry. So here's the bottom line. Paracelsus may not have found a single magic cure for mortality, but in that obsessive search, he helped forge something else entirely. He forged a method, a way of systematically questioning, experimenting, and observing the world. The real stone he gave us was the scientific process that we are still using today to fight those exact same ancient enemies, disease, decay, and death. In a very real way, his war against time never actually ended. It just moved to new battlefields. It went from the Alchemist's secret lab to our modern hospitals, our genetic research facilities, our AI development centers. The quest continues through us. And that leaves us with one last thought. We are all, in our own way, inheritors of that same obsession. So the question is, what philosopher's stone are we seeking today?